Hey everyone, it's Chow. I'm going to talk about some spirit animals in Life is Strange in this video, or at least some animal symbolism that's shown up. Before I start though, here's your spoiler warning. Click away if you don't want anything spoiled. Alright, this video is only going to cover episodes 1 and 2 since I haven't played episode 3 yet, but spirit animals have already been like a big part of the game thus far. First up, Kate Marsh. I think her spirit animal is the rabbit, since she exhibits a lot of the character traits that rabbits are known for. Like rabbits, Kate's a very quiet, timid, and fearful person. Furthermore, Kate actually keeps a pet rabbit in her dorm room. Here's where things get interesting though. I think Kate's pet rabbit is really symbolic of Kate's situation. There are a lot of parallels between the two of them. First off, look at what happens when Max takes the rabbit's photo. Notice how it just shrinks up and tucks back its ears? It's scared. I'm sure this is a representation of how Kate feels about cameras, pictures, and video after being captured on film at that Vortex party. An experience as traumatic as hers could make anyone fear cameras. Second, notice that this rabbit is being kept in a cage. As far as I know, this is the only potential spirit animal that's been shown caged, and I think this is also representative of how Kate feels inside. I think this physical cage is just a symbol of how Kate is trapped within the negativity of Blackwell Academy. The combination of the cage and Max's photography gives the impression that Kate is basically on display for all of Blackwell's students and staff to observe and, in turn, ridicule. No one seems to believe her innocence, and there's no way to change their minds, no escape from the shame, no freedom. Perhaps this is why she wanted to jump off the roof and take her own life. It was the only way Kate thought she could break that cage, that metaphorical cage, and be free from it all. Lastly, I want to talk about the rabbit's black and white coloration. Now, I might be reaching a little bit here, but this color scheme can be a representation of the way the school looks at Kate. To my knowledge, the responses to Kate's video have been pretty black and white themselves. The majority of the students believe that Kate showed her true colors at that Vortex party, while Max believes she was drugged and taken advantage of. It's a pretty black and white dichotomy here. There hasn't really been a character that's of an opinion in the gray area between those two extremes. You can say Jefferson is sort of a gray area, but I think of his response to Kate's video as more he doesn't want to get involved and he doesn't want to have an opinion. He just wants to be as unbiased as possible. His opinion can't really be considered in the gray area when he doesn't really have an opinion, you know? Here's something else. In some Native American traditions, rabbits are known as the fear caller because of its tendency to project its fears so much that those fears come to life. For a rabbit, that fear is being eaten, and for Kate, the fear is losing her good, clean image. Kate has been really vocal about her protest of the video, and in doing so, she's ruined this clean image that she used to have.
What if Kate brought this on herself? She means well, but maybe she doth protest too much.
Lots of parallels here, huh? One last thing that I found really interesting. Rabbits are also considered to be guides to the shadow world where one's personal fears live. If the rabbit appears before you, it's time to examine the personal fears that hold you back. So, could Kate and her situation be a reflection of one of Max's deep personal fears? The fear of being an outcast? I was curious about why Max, without ever having seen Kate's video, sided with and was sympathetic to her without any hesitation whatsoever. Now don't get me wrong, I really feel bad for Kate and I think what happened to her sucks, if it's true. The player really has no idea what the truth is at this point because we never see the video. Could it be that Max's blind belief of Kate's word is rooted in her own fears of being an outcast herself? So far in the game, I get the impression that Max feels a little alienated from the rest of the student body. She always talks about her peers as if she's been observing them from afar, you know, as an outsider looking in. Just a thought. Okay, moving on, let's talk about Chloe's spirit animal. It's probably the general opinion that Chloe's character has a strong connection to the bright blue butterfly that sometimes appears in the game, but I actually don't think this butterfly is Chloe's spirit animal. I think the butterfly is Chloe's spirit manifested, but I'll address this in a later video. So what is Chloe's spirit animal? It's none other than the western scrub jay that is pretty common along the western coast of the US, which is where Arcadia Bay, Oregon should be. Check it out, you can see the scrub jay on Chloe's windowsill when we first enter her room. Another scrub jay flies right into the closed window of Chloe's parents' room and dies. I'll also talk about this in another video. If we let it live, then it perches on their wardrobe and just observes Max as she snoops around. And a third scrub jay can be seen near the lighthouse in episode 1, right before Max confesses to Chloe about her powers. A lot of the scrub jay's characteristics line up with Chloe's. In nature, scrub jays are known to form very unusual but functional family units. Having a father that passed away and a mother that remarried a man you don't get along with might not be too unusual in modern times, but Chloe's situation is far from the idea of the perfect nuclear family of 1950s America. Scrub jays as a spirit guide apparently teach people that it's okay to have non-traditional family units, and this is reflected in how strong of a bond Chloe has with Rachel, and also in how strong Chloe's friendship is with Max. Scrub jays also have a penchant for stealing food and are highly bold and inquisitive creatures. I think it's pretty obvious how this applies to Chloe. Something interesting about scrub jays as a spirit animal is their message of delayed gratification. The idea is to work really hard now, forego instant gratification, and endure difficult times in order to move closer to a more lofty goal. For Chloe, the goal was moving to LA with Rachel, and the difficulty was saving enough money to do that, so she endured the difficulty of working with shady characters like Frank. One thing I've noticed about this girl is that she seems like she's always up to something. Chloe might have stopped going to school, but she definitely isn't sitting around idly. Whenever we encounter her in the game, Chloe and Max always end up doing something or going somewhere. Makes me think Chloe's always working on something when she's not around us. She's busy, just like scrub jays. Okay, moving on, let's talk Rachel Amber's spirit animal. There's not too much evidence to back this up since Rachel hasn't actually appeared in the game yet, so I might be reaching a little bit here too. But I think her spirit animal is the magpie. Like their plumage, magpies have colorful characteristics as well. They're unpredictable, high-spirited, and expressive. All things that have been used to describe Rachel as a person. Magpies are also known to be a jack of all trades, which is an obvious parallel to Rachel, who seems to dabble in all sorts of things, like modeling and skateboarding, for example. The magpie's bold coloring is symbolic of flamboyance and glamour, which makes sense when you consider Rachel's interest in modeling. And the magpie is also known to be a risk taker as well as obsessed with shiny objects. The combination of these two things can be seen in the way Rachel wishes to risk the safety net of Arcadia Bay to be a model in LA, where Hollywood, aka Tinseltown, is located. Now some darker things about the magpie symbolism. They're associated with unhappiness and trouble. The obvious connection here is that Rachel has gone missing and no one knows what's happened to her. They're also known to be able to open the gates to the spirit world. How is this relevant? Well, there were two critical moments where a magpie shows up in these first two chapters. The first is on the cliff by the lighthouse before Max confesses to Chloe about her powers. You can see a magpie perched on the map right there, and that map is very important to Max because it's symbolic of all her childhood memories with Chloe. The second one happens when Kate jumps off the roof of the girls' dormitory. You can see a bunch of them fly off the moment she jumps. Furthermore, you can see a bunch of magpies just hanging around Blackwell's front entrance. I think Rachel's spirit, in the form of her spirit animal, has been watching over her friends. She watches over her friends at Blackwell. She watches over the huge confession Max is making to Chloe. She's observing Kate's pain. And as a side note, let's talk about why Rachel would even want to watch over Kate. Well, it could be because the person that hurt Kate also hurt Rachel. Rachel and Kate actually have very similar features. They're both Caucasian females with blonde hair and brown eyes, and have both had a relationship to Mr. Jefferson. And of course, they both have their own individual red notebooks. And one more thing before I move on, there's a lot of moments where you can see two birds chilling together. I think this might be symbolic of some big themes in the game. Solidarity, friendship, loyalty. You know that old saying, right? Birds of a feather flock together. Alright, last thing. There's a crow on Principal Wells's desk. I'm not gonna assume that the crow is a spirit animal, but I want to talk about what this could mean for his character and the role he could be playing in the story. Crows are tricksters and can be very deceiving with their appearance. They bring change, have keen sight, and are watchful, and they think beyond the dichotomy of right and wrong. This is a somewhat fitting description for the position that Principal Wells is in. The game so far has always presented him as an aloof character who's always observing. When you really think about it, he's actually a fair man. When I told him about Nathan having a gun, he confronted Nathan immediately about it. A rational move to make for someone in his position. I hate admitting that though. He also disciplines either Max, Jefferson, David, or Nathan without hesitation in Chapter 2. The man is definitely hard to figure out. He's deceiving with his appearances. What if the red notebooks belong to him? During the ending sequence of episode 1, you can see him drinking out of a rocks glass, which is usually used for liquor. And there's a rocks glass with liquor in it during episode 2's end sequence. Could it be that he's the one taking creepy photos of these girls? Or maybe he's not the one taking photos, but instead is the one collecting them. What if it's a joint effort by Principal Wells, Mr. Jefferson, and Nathan? You can see the symbolism here in the scene. Principal Wells is the glass, Jefferson is the black and white photo, and Nathan is the pill bottle. Or perhaps Principal Wells is actually a well-meaning guy, and these notebooks are just records of girls that have been mistreated at Blackwell over the years. Who knows? The dude is really hard to read. Yeah, just some of my thoughts. We'll see what happens very soon. Thanks for watching.